Alright everybody, what's up again? Checking in today to do a review for the latest 2013 Kylesa album, Ultraviolet. Now, on this record, Kylesa, like a lot of their other Georgia bands like Mastodon and Baroness, you'll find them branching out on this one, but one of the things I like about, especially with Mastodon and Baroness is, although they all are kind of branching out from that sludge sound, they're all managed to do it in their own way. So, getting into Kylesa here, they've added a lot more, of an ethereal approach, a lot more of a layered and a textured approach with the guitars. But they don't fully abandon that core Kylesa sound. So while they stretch their wings out a bit, you're not going to be surprised listening to this album as opposed to, well, especially past couple. Maybe if you compare it to the first couple, you'll notice they're less heavy in a way. But alright, getting into the album proper here. It starts off with Exhale, which is a nice way to start off the album with a lot of that classic Kylesa sound and riffs, the dual drummers, because they have two full drummers in this band, if you didn't know. Really, everything just nice pounding, heavy way, familiar way to start the record off. And then it gets into the next track, Unspoken, which is where a lot of these new elements come in. Laura Pleasance, she takes the main vocal role on this album mostly. Again, they have two vocalists, a man and a woman, Philip Coate and Laura Pleasance, and there's a lot of interplay with the two of them, and that happens a lot in this album, but Laura definitely takes a central role, and she sings a lot more on this instead of just more screaming, which is nice because she has a really good voice, and it's just another nice tool for this album to add layers. She's soft where things need to be soft and heavy where they need to be heavy, and I think Unspoken is really good showcase for a lot of what happens over the course of the rest of this album. And then the song Long Gone has a really nice almost tribal type drum breakdown to it, which is nice to see some interplay there between the drummers. There's a lot of that, well, not a lot of that, but a few more examples of that on Static Tensions. But Long Gone here is really got a nice little tribal breakdown part in there. And then on a Steady Breakdown, that's a pretty cool song. There's almost a Kyuss type sound to the main riff. It's got a lot of that similar distortion you'd expect on there. Something like Demon Cleaner maybe. It's got a cool, that nice sludgy kind of doom riff. Really good haunting vocal melody over that, and some nice, really nice clean segments. Adding a lot of really good layers to this song, which layered is a word I keep coming back to with this record because there's a lot of really good, layering between some nice heavy riffs with some nice textural guitar work. They're really taking advantage of the instrumental talent that they have in this band here, between the two guitarists, the two drummers, everybody is just really taking the chance here to take full use of their catalog here. So going up next on song Low Tide, that's the best example on this album for me of Laura and Philip, working together in really nice and new ways that you might not have seen on some previous Kylesa albums. They're both working together in a really melodic way, and it's just really, there's a lot of sorrow on this album that comes through in the vocals, and I think the new melodic approach in some of these tracks really helps convey that along really well, and Low Tide is just a great example of that too. So if you were more of a fan of heavier Kylesa and maybe you were interested in what they have going on here, Unspoken and Low Tide here are really good choices for you to check out, however you check music out, to listen to it, to see what new stuff they're bringing to the table. Vulture's Landing shifts things back to a little bit of that heavier type sound. I think Vulture's Landing would sit nicely on Static Tensions, really, if you wanted it to. It's a pretty good track there. Adds a little bit of some of that heaviness to the back half of the album, which is nice. And again, it helps keeps things together, but varied at the same time. And then the album closes on Drifting, which it's always nice to have one of those really reflective type closing tracks in an album, I think, and this does a really good job of closing the album out with a lot of the newer elements. It's really nice and just expansive, textured, again, and there's that last burst of heaviness right at the end of the track. And it just closes things off, really well. So to close this review out here now, and I'm trying to keep them a bit more brief maybe and talk more about the tracks. I think this is a really good addition. If you like Kylesa, and you're into bands, experimenting and doing things for music's sake, you can't really go wrong with this. This is a really solid release. I recommend it. I like it a lot. If you want to also if you don't know Kylesa that well, Static Tensions is another great one to pick up. But this is just a great, really enjoyable disc. I liked it. The production is nice. It's what you'd expect, from a band, one of these sludgy type bands. It's not overly polished, but at the same time, it's nice and listenable. Nothing's getting buried. It's not poorly produced, but it's also not overly slick. So yeah, it's just a really good pickup. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 7.5 out of 10. Just go pick it up. Support some of these smaller, really talented bands. All right, guys. Until next time. See you later.